30th July is the date when a unique Earth observation satellite is going to be launched. It's a partnership between India and US. It's called the NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, or NISAR as you all might know it. To discuss about this unique partnership between India and the US, we have with us today Mr. Radha Krishna Kavuluru. He is a former scientist with the ISRO, currently working with Dhruva Space, but he was initially involved in the development of NISAR in its initial days. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, sir. Going ahead with the first question, just to get our viewers started, if you could just tell us what exactly is NISAR?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Soumya. It's my pleasure to talk about NISA. I spent 4 years of my career working on this satellite. So, NISAR is a very unique satellite. And for starting with the fact, it's the most expensive Earth observation satellite that the world has ever seen. So NISR is NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. Okay. So at the core of it, the satellite works on a radar technology, and you see usual satellite images, right, on Google Maps, etc. They're all looking like what you see with your naked eye, right? But radar images are a little different. So when you see Google Maps image, it is basically sunlight reflected from Earth, and the satellite is seeing it back. But radar, what they do is they send their own radiations in microwave or radio waves, and then they observe the reflected waves, right? So this is one such satellite. And the synthetic aperture comes as in to increase the resolution, we simulate the radar antenna aperture. Okay. So as the satellite moves in space, it travels, let's say, a kilometer, right? So all that sampling distance over a longer range is considered as an simulated aperture. So that is synthetic aperture radar, right? So this satellite is being made exclusively by NASA and ISRO partnership, and is a very, very exclusive satellite because it has two different bands, L and S band. So that is why it is special. This is the first Earth observation satellite that has dual band.
A lot of the recent, press briefings that has happened from NASA's side, in that we've, established that this has been a 50-50 partnership between ISRO and NASA. Could you explain to our viewers how is this partnership divided? What bit of this project has been handled by ISRO and what bit was taken up by NASA?
Sure. So whenever we talk about a SAR satellite, there at the core of the payload or the observatory, as we call it, there are two technologies. One thing would be the antenna. Like if you see the picture of NISR, there is a deployable antenna which is looking at the Earth. Then there is a boom which is connecting it to satellite, right? And then there is the satellite bus itself. Now, for the radar technology, also we need a lot of electronics. So again, there is dual band, as I say, L and S band is what the NISR has. Okay. Now in the partnership, L band technology has been made by NASA. S band technology of NISR has been made by ISRO, and the satellite bus is also from ISRO. And the launch is being provided by ISRO. On July 30, we have a launch of GSLV Mark II, which is launching NISR, right? So this is the share, and the radar boom and reflector, the antenna itself is made by NASA. So this is the split of the technologies. Yeah, and as you can also see, the reflector, if you see, right, the reflector or the antenna, as we call, is 12 meter in diameter. So if you can imagine, like you can put one car is general car is of 4 meters. Put three cars together, that is the length of the antenna. Now that circle, if you make, it's a very, very huge room kind of an antenna. Now that big of an antenna cannot go inside a launch vehicle. So what they do is they make it in a stuffed kind of a way, right? And then it goes to space and gets deployed. So the entire observatory is very, very complex, and the antenna itself is 12 meter, but the boom which connects the antenna to the satellite is also around 9 meters, right? So all of it is packed into a like a box kind of a thing, and once it goes into space, everything starts deploying. So very, very complex satellite.
Sir, you explained about how this technology is going to be, how it's going to look like, when it's launched and once it goes to space. Could you also tell us what is it going to do? Because we have established that it's an Earth observation satellite, but we have, like, both NASA and ISRO have been sending Earth observation satellites since they started operations. So how is NISAR going to be different than any other Earth observation satellite that we have up there?
Right. Comparing in SAR satellites, today we have multiple L-band satellites, a couple of S-band satellites already, right? And what SAR satellites help us really do is they can see through clouds. That is the first thing. So usually, if you take an optical satellite like what Google Maps shows you, if there is cloud, you cannot see what is underneath it. But by the foundation of micro and radio waves, they can penetrate through clouds because of their wavelength. So underneath the cloud, most of the Earth is covered by cloud, by the way. So if you want to see what's happening beneath those clouds, you need a SAR satellite. And as you rightly pointed out, NASA, ESA, JAXA, Korea, and India all have SAR satellites before. But what is special here is the dual band kind of the technology. Okay. Now L band is the technology where it can also penetrate a certain millimeters of land, ice, and also vegetation, right? So clearly from L band images, you can have certain applications, and S band has its own kind of applications. Mix both of this together, you have a very unique data set that the globe has not yet seen. The only L and S band satellite that has flown before is Chandrayaan 2. On Moon, the payload is DFSAR, dual frequency synthetic aperture radar. After that, NISR is the dual frequency SAR satellite that is going, and it is going to give immense amount of crucial data covered in both L band and S band radars that we can see. Examples, and there's one more very important feature of this. So comparably, if you see other SAR satellites in C band, let's say Sentinel-1, which is adopted worldwide, all countries almost who are into remote sensing use Sentinel-1 in their daily operations of running their country. Let's say monitoring forests, monitoring earthquakes, monitoring glaciers, okay, monitoring landslides. All of these are very important, and they come as a byproduct of synthetic aperture radar. The technology is called interferometry. Now, what is interferometry? I'll just take a minute and tell you. This is a very fascinating physics as well. So interferometry means that today you see a certain radar image. So there is a certain wave that is going and coming back. Now tomorrow you see the same place from the same spot, and the radar image is going to come and go back. But if there is a certain feature change on this Earth, the radar image that is going to come back will be certain different from the previous image that we have observed. So basis this difference, they do something called as interferograms. So what that will enable you to do is monitor millimeter level changes on the Earth's surface. Okay. So even if a certain millimeter has changed, you can actually track it. Now, where this will be useful, imagine you want to track glacier movements, right? Ice structures which move very slowly, right? We cannot track it in real time. So you continuously keep monitoring in time series, and you know that the glacier is moving at a certain rate. That is one thing. Landslides, earthquakes, everywhere you want to see the cumulative effects, interferograms or interferometry will be helpful. And NISR is the most premium and exclusive satellite, which is basically built for building interferograms. So the repetitivity of NISR is 12 days. So every 12 days, NISR is going to cover entire Earth, right? So it is like in a month, you will have 2.5 times of coverage. So in one single month, you can see the entire Earth 2.5 times. And in 120 days, you will almost be able to see 10 times. So the mission life cycle is 5 years. So you can imagine how frequently we'll have coverages and how frequently you can analyze what is happening on Earth, right? For example, biomass observation, the changes of forests, how much carbon is above this Earth, everything will be enabled by this dual frequency SAR observation, and that is why it is everyone is waiting for this satellite across the globe.
So, what is the kind of data volume that we are expecting? Like, because you did say that, every 12 days, the satellite is going to keep giving us data. I mean, it just seems like the volume that we are talking about is something that we haven't really seen before. Could you give us a very relatable kind of a comparison of what is the volume of data that we are looking at in this particular mission?
Yes. So here again, the data is going to be straight off petabytes. Okay. Now L band, it's a very interesting architecture also. Now L band is planned to be covered across the globe. Okay. So there is a NISR science handbook if you want to see more about it. L band is covered across the globe. S band is planned across India, certain regions outside India, Indian island archipelago, both poles, and certain other regions as well, where there is a usage of both L and S band. So storing all of this data is a nightmare, and the nightmare is coming out as an engineering marvel here. So in NISR, for any satellite you see, there are two segments. Okay, one thing is called space segment, where someone is making a satellite, testing it, calibrating it, validating it, getting the data. And then there is a ground segment where we are building huge antennas to take the data from those satellites, process it with the software, and deliver insights at the end of the day. Okay. Now, what happens? For example, Sentinel-1, let us take. Sentinel-1 sends us data, and there are different types of levels of data. Okay. For example, for Sentinel-1, then there is a interferometric wide swath kind of a product, which is a pre-processed product. And then there is a ground range product. So there are different levels of products where different levels of applications are possible. At the end of the day, if you want to make an interferogram as I speak, you need to do it with your own software in other satellites' data. But for NISR, the core principle is the data is open source, and whatever can be made with the data, even the interferograms, are processed and hosted for you. All you need to do is download those. So NASA and ISRO are investing billions of dollars even into this ground equipment to process this data so that it is readily available for anyone. Even if someone does not know what an interferogram is, he's sitting in a government office, he can download it, view it in the software, and understand what is that millimeter change he's looking at. So that is the kind of effort that both NASA and ISRO are put.
So this is a first of its kind partnership between NASA and ISRO. You were among the team that was initially involved in the development of the satellite. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about your experience? What were the tasks that you were assigned, and how was the experience like for the team in general dealing with this project?
Yes. So till NISR, most of the satellites that I worked was exclusively with ISRO. For NISR, it was like a very good experience working with the counterparts in NASA. So my role was, as I said, in the ground segment, where we need to take the data, process it, and deliver it. Okay. Now here again, I'll tell you, for NASA, what they are processing and delivering is through a portal called ASF, Alaska Satellite Facility, and there is a portal called DAC. So they will upload all of their data there, process the data there, and then they will download. For ISRO, we have a portal called Bhunidhi, where all the ISRO satellite data is hosted even today. And for NISR, that is the exclusive portal where there will be data delivery available. So I was a product manager for the ground segment, where we were planning, budgeting, making all this available, and also the Bhunidhi portal. Now, one more detail here exclusively is that ISRO, whatever it is processing both L and S band. Okay. Now, NASA datasets, mostly they will be L band, but on ISRO datasets, because we are making the S band, we are also trying to process L band. So on Bhunidhi portal, you will be able to see for a certain area, there will be co-registered products for both L and S band available. So this is the work that I was doing.
So how was the experience like for the team? Because for the longest time, like you said, that ISRO was sort of operating as an independent agency, not really relying on global partnerships to go ahead with their missions. Uh, you know. Uh, it won't be wrong to call NISAR as one of the first such global partnerships, that ISRO also was made, they also experienced. So as one of the foremost scientists who was in the team for NISAR, what was the collective consensus of this project that you had taken up with NASA, which is considered to be like the pioneer when it comes to space projects?
Yes. So, I mean, I think ISRO has already been part of few international projects, like, for example, Argos, where we partnered with Kines, and There are multiple projects like that. But talking about NISR, it's about the scale of the project. Like, for example, when we speak of Sentinel-1, it is used by users across the world. For NISR, I think India is getting an opportunity to showcase its engineering for the globe. Everyone is waiting for NISR data, and India is a part of it, right? So I think personally for me, it was like we need to stand up and be an example that, okay, our engineering is also world class. And working with NASA was also really interesting. They were learning both sides, right? And everyone, it's like there's learning experience always when you work as a team together with new people, right? So that is never going to be a negative. Yeah.
So, also wanted to understand that, NISAR is not something that was born like in 2, 3 years. If you look at the timelines, 2007 was when it was initially conceptualized. It took as many years as it did. But even towards the last leg, like, from the announcements that were made towards the end, was that, we wanted to launch it sometime around 2024. What was the last leg of delays? Could you, dwell a little bit more about, what caused the delays? Are there still any segments where, we are still doubting, could the launch be deferred again, or is this something that we are sure of this time?
Sure. So NISR started with something called as US Decadal Survey of Science, where they bought out different applications, what is possible, what is not, and NASA came up that okay, L-band SAR is something that is missing worldwide, and we could put up with that. But ISRO also proposed, okay, we'll also contribute S-band, and NISR became a reality. There were, I think, for me, two delays that I can think of which were prominent. One thing is COVID. Even when I was working before COVID, also COVID was a really big differential, because working days, working ways changed in NASA, and working days and ways changed in ISRO. At ISRO, we were going to the centers working off the bat, but there were some things that were missing. So the coordination was not there, and everything got stalled. So that is an operational delay caused in all sectors, and it affected NISR as well. The second delay at the last that we saw was a reflector coating issue, for which the entire antenna was taken back to JPL, and it came back and was integrated before. So these were the both issues I think that were there. And launch being deferred, I don't know. I am very excited. Already booked my tickets, going to the launch. Let's hope all is well.
One of the last questions that I want to ask you is that the last few years has been tremendous for ISRO in terms of the mission successes, especially after Chandrayaan 3, Aditya L1. We have been doing some cracker of work, from the Indian Space Agency. How do you see the coming decade to be for the space domain in India? And especially because, you were involved with ISRO. Now that, the government has also opened up space to private partners, now a lot of private companies are coming in to, sort of find space in different aspects of space technology. How do you see the next decade for India's space ambitions?
Right. So just compare that with what happened outside in the world, and when the space industry grew, let's say in USA. In US, astronauts were going to space starting 1960s, 1970s. People were planning a lot, right? China did that, Russia did that. And that ambition that we need to be in space established a long-term industry, not just in aerospace, but also in the defense industry. Now, I think India is stepping towards that stone where we have Bharti Antarik Station, Gaganyaan, Chandrayaan 4, 5, Lupex, Mangalyaan, Shukrayaan that are lined up, especially from ISRO side. And we are always seeing private companies also doing leaps and bounds in their own technologies, and helping both commercial sector as well as defense sector at the same time. So I think this is the time where there's going to be an explosion of technology in multiple sectors, not just in space. This explosion of technology in space will also trickle down to effects in aerospace and defense together, and the entire industry will consolidate and become a new strength for India going forward.
So, your closing comments, what do you look forward to in NISAR? I know that much of it you've already covered, but just as something that that this big project that India is part of, and as a young scientist, who is working in the domain, your message to people who are likely to get benefit from NISAR, if you could just have your closing comments, and then we'll wrap up.
Yes. So I think that remote sensing as a technology has to still enter deep into the Indian markets, both on the civilian government side, defense side, and also on the enterprises side. NISAR is going to open a huge treasure of data in multiple applications. If you're dependent on forestry, agriculture, landslides, geology, groundwater, right, oceans, post, courts, everywhere there's going to be application for you. All we need to do is put that effort, learn what's going to be there, because the data is anyways free. They're processing the data, giving you raw data. So all you need to do is take that step. And I think people should come out and learn what are the different applications for them with satellite data, and what NISR is going to add for them, and make utilization of this data. And that is something that will create multiple ecosystems down the chain, and it will also help Indian space ecosystem.
Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion, sir. We really look forward to the launch. And like you said, that you will be a part of the launch. You said that you're going to be traveling. Thank you so much for explaining the details of the technology that NISAR is going to carry. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in for today's interview. For more such science-related content, please keep tuning in to The Print.
Thank you.